Okay, it is February 9th, 2017, and in this video I am going to try to fix a problem with one of these StarRider board sets. This is actually a problem on this CPU board, which belongs to Ed Beeler, and he loaned it to me some years ago. And the problem is that when the game boots up, it says this, that adjustment failure, restore factory settings by opening front door and turning game on and off. So that's kind of vague, but if I go into the diagnostics menu, it says read-only CMOS RAM errors. So that also confused me, but I finally disassembled the ROM enough to understand what it was trying to do. And so the way the CMOS RAM works is it's the one it's this little guy right here, and normally it's supposed to have 3 batteries in here, but the batteries tend to leak, so everyone removes them so the acid doesn't destroy their board. So without the batteries keeping this RAM alive while the rest of the game's turned off, as soon as the game powers on, it will do a little RAM test, and if the test fails, then it will try to rewrite that little CMOS RAM with some default information. And if it's unable to write to that RAM, then that's when it displays this message, and it says open the front door of the game and turn it on and off. Now why would you want it, or why would it say to open the front door? Well, in order to understand that, we have to understand that on the front door there is one line here. It's connected, there's like a switch on the front door of the cabinet that's connected to this line called memprot, which I assume means memory protect. And apparently when the front door is open, then the CMOS RAM can be completely overwritten. When the door is closed, then part of the CMOS can be written, but part of it can't. And the part that can't be overwritten is what they're talking about when they say read-only. So it's not really read-only, it's just read-only some of the time. So if we look on the other page of the schematic for this memprot line, it comes all the way across here and it goes into this, it looks like a NOR gate. And it's kind of hard to understand what's happening, but if you spend some time looking at the schematic, which I did, you may eventually realize that this NOR gate kind of applies to a specific memory region, which is CC00 to CCFF, and the entire CMOS goes from CC00 to CFFF, so it's just the first 256 bytes that are affected by this NOR gate. And eventually, if all goes well, then it'll come over here and here's the CMOS RAM. So apparently what's happening is the game's trying to write to the CC00 to CCFF region, and it's failing, so it's assuming that memprot is being held high, and it needs to be low. Memprot needs to be low in order for that specific memory region to work. So I'm going to bet that this NOR gate's probably bad, because, well, I mean, this could be bad, or some more things in here could be bad. This could be good, but maybe this OR gate's bad. Maybe some other things are bad, but it's got to be something in this specific area. So how am I going to test that? Because the problem is, if I try to set up like a logic probe or something, while if I try to set up a logic probe, it's going to be pretty difficult to see what's going on. So I have a few options. I could hook up a logic analyzer on here and see the inputs and outputs. That might be something I do. Or I could modify the ROM so that it just runs in a loop and continually tries to read and write to this RAM, and then it'll be a lot easier to put a logic analyzer on here and see what's going on. So I'm going to probably do one of those things and then I will report back. Okay, so I hooked up logic analyzer to a bunch of the pins, including the memory itself up here, and here's the logic for the write protect stuff I was talking about earlier. And I also wrote a customized ROM, which is really short, and all it does is turn off interrupts, feeds the watchdog so the board doesn't reset, then it loads an A5 and stores it into the CMOS memory, which is CC00, then it immediately loads it back again. Then it loads a 5A and stores that into CD00, which is also the CMOS memory, and then it loads that back again. Then it just loops over and over again. So it does nothing but load and store this to memory. And this is kind of deceptive because the CMOS memory is only 4 bits. So you have to kind of ignore the top, the A here and the 5 here, and just assume it's loading a 5 and storing it, and loading an A and storing it. So what did I see when I ran it on the logic analyzer? Well, here, right here, is where it loads the 5, or where it stores the 5, sorry. It stores the 5 to the CMOS here, and then here it loads it back again, but instead of loading a 5, it loads an F, as if the write never occurred. So that kind of suggests that the memory itself might be bad, so I'm gonna pull this guy off, put a socket and put a new one on and see if that changes anything. It doesn't prove that the memory is bad for sure. There could be something else going on, but this seems like a good first step. Replace the memory and see if the problem goes away. Okay, I got a new socket on there and a new chip, although you can kind of see I have 2 sockets stacked on top of each other because as I was taking this one out of another board, I broke off a leg, so I had to do some repair. But I'm going to hook it up and see if it works. Okay, I put a new SRAM in there, and I wrote a 5 and then read the 5 back, then wrote an A, but when I read it back I get a B. So it looks like this new SRAM isn't performing the way I expected. I guess I'll try a third SRAM, and if I'm still getting the same results, then I'll start to look elsewhere. But it looks like this replacement SRAM is having problems also, unfortunately. Okay, I just ordered 10 of these CMOS RAM replacements from China, and they finally came. I was very impatient waiting, so I'm going to try putting one of these in. If the behavior stays the same, that'll be very interesting, and then that'll mean something else on the board's wrong. If the behavior is fixed, then that's kind of what I'm expecting, so we'll see what happens. Okay, I got the new CMOS installed in here, and got some good news. Here, writing 5, then reading 5 back, writing A, then reading A back, writing 5, reading 5. So, first test has passed. I'm going to put the original ROM back on and see if it passes the Star Writer CMOS test. Okay, here we go. Yes! Yes! It worked! It's fixed! Oh, man, I actually fixed something on this board for a change. Okay. This is the Star Writer diagnostics test that tests the CMOS RAM I just replaced, and as you can see, it's now passing where it used to fail. So I'm actually kind of surprised that the CMOS RAM was the problem, because that seems like the obvious problem, so I was looking for something a little bit less obvious. But yeah, the RAM was bad, and my first attempt at replacing it was bad, and my second attempt at replacing it seems to be good. So I'm going to say that the problem with this board is fixed, and I hope you enjoyed the video.